Now we about to drop some gems.
Speed bag and boxing. Do you guys have anything to defend the speed bag that can Smoke might
didn't we talk about some stupid speed bag
Sorry, Rachel.
Yes, ma'am.
We talked about it before. Right? Didn't we talk about it before about the speed bag?
I'm sorry,
Because
I didn't know. I just
Yeah, exactly. So, right, I've been asking people about it. That's, you know, to me, it was a funny question. Yeah, I've asked several people now.
Yeah, because the thing is that, like...
Is it part of timing?
Nonito said it's part of timing. But, and I said, and then, because someone on the panel before said, oh, it's for, you know, working on punches and your shoulders. And I'm like, but who punches with their elbows wide? I was like, because most of the time, you don't see boxers, or whatever they do on, you know, their TikToks and Instagram. They're taught the wrong way. I would say there's probably 2 out of 10 that actually use the speed bag like how it's supposed to be with their elbows in. But you always see them with their elbows out doing this whole circular motion. That's pretty much about it. They don't even use footwork most of the time. They're planted and they're doing like this little 2-step dance. They're not even on the balls of their toes. So I just think that it's a lacking the fundamental training of why the speed bag is supposed to be. But Nonito has argued with me a bunch of times. Why is the speed bag a thing, babe? Yeah, because we're talking about the stupid speed bag again.
I mean, the whole way was coordination and speed and all of that.
Coordination and speed?
Yeah.
And footwork, or no?
I mean, you can use footwork with it along with just coordination. If you're hopping and you're moving your hand at the same time, you know, you got to have that coordination to get it. But, it's, you know, the speed as well at the same time, keeping your hands up. All of that you're supposed to be able to do, not just... Because you see a lot of guys when they're doing the speed bag, their elbows are out and all that stuff instead of putting it back in and just, you know, going according to how you would fight. But people don't do that anymore. They lost the art of what the speed bag is for.
Nonito.
I agree, Nonito. Hey, Rachel, I got a question for you.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to ask, like, in regards to, I guess, like certain fighting styles, like, I'll use, like, guys like Duran Ennis as a perfect example.
Here's the one thing that I don't like about it is some of them do it way too damn slow. When you switch it, there is a point where your feet are on the same line, on the wrong line, and you're square to your opponent. You shouldn't be doing that in the red zone when you're way too close to your opponent. There's very few ones, like Boots, that can switch very effectively, and he disguises it. But does it too. But I don't suggest people who are not cognizant of where their feet are to do it, and people to emulate it, especially if they're not comfortable in one side. You hear a lot of there are a lot of boxers that you hear most of the time that all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, they're fighting orthodox, but I heard that he's left side dominant. And so those most of those ones are the ones that are able to switch it because they have abilities in the other side as well, but they were taught on an orthodox style. But if you're a boxer puncher, I would use the ring and use footwork and feints to get them to square up. That's where you're going to be able to catch them is during that switch, especially if their feet is not following is underneath them when they're switching. You'll see a lot of them that aren't really good at it or not comfortable in it. You'll see them square up a lot.
So Rachel, I'll be remiss if I didn't do this. My Uncle D-Ray got a question. He told me I wasn't going to let him ask his question. D-Ray, go ahead, brother. You had a question. Go ahead.
Yeah. Watch this.
First off, I want to say congratulations to Donaire. I heard he you know, with the plans for the future fights. Congratulations and, you know, God bless, you know, and thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And I got to speak with your dad, and he's such a charming fellow.
And he had your dad laughing, Rachel.
Yeah, my dad's charming when he wants to be.
Now, these guys were asking me about Bud Crawford and this air contract that they think Earl Spence done subliminally sent to him. And I just said that you had actually read contracts, signed contracts, and seen them. And so maybe you could help them understand what's taking the fight so long, I guess, right? I don't know. Because you said that you spoke with, like, Richard Schaefer today. I'm sorry, but, but go ahead, ma'am.
Well, I mean, I'm not privy to their contract. Most of those contracts are between parties. But what I could, from what I've heard and what's going around in social media and what different people are saying is that Bud wants more. He wants to be the A side. Now, I don't know if this is true, but that's what I've heard. Okay. The problem that being that, Bud had a high minimum with Top Rank. And so when you come up with those numbers from Top Rank, because that's what you're used to, then when it comes to negotiations on a different promotion and a different fighter, then it starts to muddy up the water, because like I believe I've talked about this before. Now let's talk numbers, okay? So if you're going to talk about, because each side's arguing, well, I think I heard someone say that Spence draws more than Crawford does, and then they're talking about the numbers and how much Bud, his viewership was versus Spence's viewership.
Man, I'm gonna
and
slaughter that
I always
dude,
say, I'm like, listen, if you want to talk about numbers, you have to bring it down to how many households bought, and what the price of that purchase was, in addition to who was on the undercard. Was it even like worth buying the pay-per-view for that one fight? Who the opponent was and how much he was getting paid. Then you go back to the same with Spence's. When you talk about the 50-50 or 60-40 or whatever, to me, those numbers are just like the sugar on top. It should always be a sugar on top, because that's an unknown number. You're gambling on yourself, and if you believe that you can bring in that amount of viewership, then great. But most pay-per-view numbers on splits, on top of a guarantee, on top of the guarantee, is really, it's teeter-tottery, because of the fact that you have a fan base that likes to watch and will pay. Then you have the fan base that's going to stream it and pirate it, and you have to count those people that are not going to pay in for the buy as well, right? Then when it comes to pay-per-views, the promoters are not just going to give it you from the first view and say, okay, you guys split it 50-50. That's not going to happen. What's going to happen is they're going to put a minimum amount of viewership. Now, whether that minimum amount threshold is 200,000 or 500,000, you have to beat that threshold before you even get paid on that pay-per-view. So if the threshold is $500,000 homes, 500,000 homes bought, and you have to, and then you get 50-50, let's just say, then that means you don't get paid until 500,001. And how many over 500,000 will you be able to sell? So guarantees and pay-per-views are really edgy, because you would want to get, if you believe in your pay-per-view sales, then you'd want a lower minimum and a lower threshold as a gamble. If you don't believe in your followership and how many people are really going to buy, then yes, you're going to want that minimum guarantee over the pay-per-view shares.
So
does that make sense?
I just want to say one last thing. So now, when PBC will offer Canelo twice the amount that they will offer both Spence and Crawford.
Canelo.
So one Canelo contract could pay for 2 Spence and Bud fights, and there's still not enough money for that. So do they just say that the fan base is too small and not enough support, or they just, we do more talking than we do paying for pay-per-views? Go ahead, ma'am.
I think we do a lot more talking than paying for pay-per-views. I don't know how many people I have seen that will not spend, $49, $75, but then they'll go out in a bar and spend $300. So I think a lot of people are counting other people's purse and yet not showing exactly how much of a fan of the sport they are. And because of that, it's showing. Now, if you're talking about someone like Canelo, you also have to look at the amount of sponsors that are willing to purchase into a Canelo fight. That's a huge one. Crawford and Spence is not as big as a sponsorship deal at this moment.
Willie's Red Shack
against a
will
Canelo fight.
sponsor the fight.
Hey, that was a gut punch. I need a standing A count on that one.
Sponsored by D-Ray Promotion.
D-Ray, that's a 2-day round.
Thank you, though. I appreciate you. Hey, and now you also do your own show on YouTube, your channel?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. And like you're helping other fighters along as well. I just thought that was pretty nice, though.
Yeah, we just kind of got into it because I think people don't know our personalities. There was a lot of people that are like, oh, they're standoffish, they're like this. I had a lot of rumors before that we would go to a fight and Nonito would be taking pictures and I'd walk away. And a lot of them were like, oh, she's such a bitch and this and that. And it came to a point where like, why don't we just talk to people? And on some of the live streams that I did with Nonito, I explained it. I was like, listen, I actually get anxiety. I'm claustrophobic. So when there's a crowd and they're like taking all my air, I have to walk away. And it's not disrespect. If you if I go away and there's like a couple people around me, then okay, cool, we'll take pictures, we'll talk. But when it's like, when there's so many people, they take your air and you can't breathe, that's how I literally feel. And so I had to explain like anxiety and in those types of situations. And I felt like,
about anxiety
like if they got to know like how Nonito's not always serious, but then he's also deep when he wants to talk. You get him on something that's really passionate to him, he will talk for hours. So, I mean, we just did it just, for people to really see who Nonito is, who I am, and just have fun with it. And the greatest thing that I've noticed is that I can talk to people and it's not, like I said, it's not an AOL chat room where you don't know, you can't hear that person's voice or their excitement or their disappointment or their anger. And I've met amazing people in YouTube that I would have probably never met otherwise.
Yeah, this is just amazing me to have you on my channel and Nonito. I mean, thank you so much, Rachel and Nonito.
Rachel, would you I love how you just broke down, what I'm saying? Hey, I need my space. That's what you basically said. No disrespect, I just need my space. That label,
I agree.
Hold on, real quick. I'm not gonna use the word you use, what they think about you. But did that, as far as having that label, that title, from what I've heard, and I've talked to a few people about you can be or a dog, it's like you can when it comes down to negotiations, you can be straightforward to the point and you're gonna get your shit across. Like, it is what it is. So can you speak to that and what it's like being a female in what I would think is a male-dominated industry?
She's a queen in that division.
I think, the things that I do is the same thing that any of the other male managers do. And yet when I do it, then it's, frowned upon. So I always think it's laughable because the thing is I trained under Cameron Duncan. I know how he worked. I know, how he redlined contracts and stuff and sent it back and said, no, we need this, like dead stop. This is where it ends. And it was just funny to me that if my name wasn't Rachel, then it would have changed the game. And I've actually tested this in my career itself. I do a lot of food, and I changed my name. I changed my name to a one of the, like how you can say like Logan, and Logan now can be a girl or a boy, right? So no one knows I'm a female. And I get so much more praise on my work than if they had found out I was a female. So, I mean, it's just a universal thing. Like, they want to put me in a box, and I think I'm less of a quote-unquote bitch when when they find out that, when they think I'm a guy, I'm applauded. I'm really good at what I do in my job. But once they find out that I'm a female, then all of a sudden, oh, she's acting like a bitch. She has a power thing or whatever like that. But I mean, I'll take it with pride. If I'm ruffling your feathers that you can't deal with this contract in front of us in a more professional way than attacking me personally, then that means I got under your skin.
Bag. Let's do it.
That says more about you than me.
Chat fans,
you're doing something right, huh?
Yeah, that's always why would you be so bothered when this is a business negotiation? Treat it like business.
Fact. Oh, fact. Go ahead, guys. My bad.
Hey, Rachel. I got another question for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted